Hello beautiful mamas, I am here to talk to you guys about rolling. Now before we go into that, let me go ahead and introduce myself. I'm a pediatric occupational therapist with 10 years of experience. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about rolling. Why is it so important about rolling? Why rolling? Well, number one thing of rolling, why it's so important, because rolling is putting them in a different plane. It's putting your little one in a different position that they're not used to. They are also, rolling challenges their vision. It challenges their vestibular system, which is balance, and it's within the ears. I will be talking about the sensory system in the near future because I feel like that's a very foundational skill that your little ones need to learn about. And other than that, rolling does help with vision, the vestibular system, and it also helps with strengthening their abs, strengthening their necks, strengthening their upper body. So all these different skills are in preparation for later on with crawling and sitting and all these other foundational skills that we're establishing now for the near future. So that's why rolling is really, really important in order for them to establish other skills later on. 5 tips and tricks that I have for rolling for your little one. Now, the first skill that usually develops is when they're on their tummy and they end up rolling on their back. That usually develops within 3 to 5 months of age. Don't be too alarmed if your little one still doesn't do that or still doesn't roll from their tummy to their back. But one of the main things, and it's tip number 1, if your little one is 2.5 and they're liking tummy time all the way up to 4 months of age, you could start shifting their weight from side to side, and this will actually help them know how to shift their weight in order for them to tuck in their arm and roll from their tummy to their back. Now let's talk about tip number 2. So with tip number 2 is basically when they're rolling from their back to their tummy. And one way of helping them is basically holding them from their pelvis and moving them and shifting them over to the side. Tip number 3, make sure that the toy is diagonal from them in an upward position, because that will capture their attention and make sure that their eyes are actually following that item or toy in order for them to be much more motivated to roll on their belly. Now let's move on to tip number 4. Tip number 4 is sideline playing. So playing on their side is really, really beneficial because they're actually lifting up their leg and kind of maintaining that position. And as you can see in this particular video, he's putting objects in his mouth, but he's really trying to stabilize himself and maintain that sideline position with his leg. Tip number 5 is make sure that they are motivated and that they're actually following with their eyes and not just moving their pelvis and trying to make them roll, because if there's no motivation, if they're not following a toy, and if their eyes aren't on the prize, then they're not going to end up wanting to work on that particular skill. So make sure that they're following the toy, or make sure that their eyes are looking at that particular toy in that diagonal position in order for them to roll. Now let's talk about when they should be rolling. So the first skill, like I mentioned, is usually from their tummy to their back. That usually develops between 3 to 5 months of age. And rolling from their back to their tummy, that actually ends up developing between 5 to 6 months of age. Now, it's totally normal if your little one first rolls from their back to their tummy, which is something that my little one ended up doing as well. Now, as I mentioned at the very beginning of the video, why it's so important to know how they're rolling. Well, the optimal thing for them to do in rolling is to make sure that they're lifting up their legs and moving off to the side and completely roll over. As you could tell, I'm repeating this video again so you could see that he's actually utilizing more of the ab muscles rather than his back muscles. Now you'll see a lot of preemie babies end up utilizing more of their back muscles in order for them to roll. Unfortunately, that's not an ideal way of rolling because they're utilizing more of their back than their abs, and then they end up having difficulties later on with crawling because they didn't really develop those ab muscles. So that's why I wanted to talk to you about why it's so important to see your little one roll more so with their abs rather than with their back. Because if they're arching back like a banana and they're completely rolling over on their tummy, then again, they're utilizing those back muscles rather than the abs. Now, if you want more tips and tricks of little ones that use more of their back muscles and more tips on how to utilize more of their abs, then go ahead and comment below. One thing too, why it's so common with preemie babies, well, because they're constantly on their back when they're in the hospital, and unfortunately they end up developing more of their strong back compared to abs because of gravity, and they're not in the utero position. So because they didn't stay in utero for a long period of time, unfortunately, they don't really develop those nice strong ab muscles. But again, that doesn't mean that we can't work on it. So please leave a comment below if you guys are interested, because I'm not quite sure if there's enough of you guys that are interested in this particular video, because I'd love to help you guys out. Hit the notification bell button so you know when I'm posting. Thank you, have a good day, and I hope this video helped you. And comment below if it really did or not. Thank you so much.